This season of the Urban Conservative Podcast is brought to you by Newton for Senate, working to improve education, reduce taxes, and keep North Carolina #1 for business. Find out more at newtonforsenate.com.
This episode of the Urban Conservative has also been sponsored by Case Technology Consulting. Help your business get value out of its data and become more efficient and streamlined. Case Technology Consulting. Check out the link in the description.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what it is. We are back. It is time for Top of the Morning here on the Urban Conservative. This is actually a redo of this morning's episode because we had a little technical glitch going on this morning. So glad that you're rocking with us here on the Urban Conservative. We really appreciate the love. Our website, tuconservative.com. That is where you can support what we do here at the Urban Conservative. Our mission is to share conservative values and principles and the benefits of conservative policies to urban communities across this great and wonderful nation of ours. There you see the website on your screen, tuconservative.com. You can listen to past episodes. You can grab one of those Hamilton plans to support what we do. Again, we appreciate all the love. As always, jump in the comment section. Let us know where you are watching and or listening from as well. We are everywhere that you listen to podcasts. We're on all social media at TUC Twins. We're on Instagram, X, everything at TUC Twins. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to belabor the point this morning. Some pretty important stuff to talk about. One of the most important things that we need to talk about is this whole idea of Project 2025. It is the new boogeyman for Black voters. This is the new boogeyman for people on the left, for folks to be afraid of, is Project 2025. Project 2025 is going to put Black people back in chains. Project 25 is going to make this a conservative takeover of the government. Project 2025 is going to remove your ability to vote. Project 2025 is, just like I said, it's the boogeyman of the left right now. And this morning, we're going to take a quick high-level look at what it actually says, so that way we can stop dealing with this idea that Project 2025 is the unknown boogeyman. Now, the first thing we need to do, and I'm going to pull up that we have the actual Project 2025 here, but I want to pull up the Wikipedia on Project 2025. And the reason I want to pull up the Wikipedia on the Project 2025 is because it is an unbiased starting point to take a look at exactly what Project 2025 is. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here you go. There's the Wikipedia page for Project 2025. As you can see, one of the first things that it said is not to be confused. Not that that's an easy thing for the left to do, is not be confused, but not be confused. This is not Donald Trump's package of proposals, which is called Agenda 47. Project 2025 is an initiative organized by the Heritage Foundation, which is not the RNC, which is not a state Republican party, with the aim of promoting a collection of conservative and right-wing, there you go, buzz term, policy proposals to reshape the United States federal government and consolidate executive power should Donald Trump win the 2024 election. The project asserts that the entire executive branch is under the direct control of the president under Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution and the unitary executive authority, which is a fair, in my opinion, estimation of what the executive branch is and the president as the chief executive officer. So as you can see, this is not President Trump's plan. This has nothing to do with President Trump. He didn't organize it. He didn't put it together. He didn't have anything to do with the writing of the Project 2025. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump, and he's already come out and said as much, that he does not have anything to do with Project 2025. So let's go straight to the project. Shall we? Shall we look directly at what Project 2025 has to say that it is? Promise number 1, restore the family as the centerpiece of America and protect our children. Well, how evil is that, ladies and gentlemen? How terrible of an idea is that, to put the family back at the center of American life and protect our children. I don't know, from genital mutilation, for one, from insane hormone treatments. I don't know, from MAPS, this idea of a minor attracted person becoming a normal thing. How about we protect our children and put families back at the centerpiece of American life? The next president must work to pursue the true priority of politics, the well-being of the American family. Well, how evil is that, ladies and gentlemen? That's promise number 1 under Project 2025. Let's go to promise number 2. Let's take a look. Dismantle the administrative state and return self-governance to American people. The surest way to put the federal government back to work for the American people is to reduce its size and scope back to something resembling the original constitutional intent. Now, folks, I dare say, and I know a lot of my conservative friends are going to agree with me when I say this, the federal government is nothing that the founders of this country would recognize. The federal government has become so massive, billions of dollars, thousands of employees, ridiculous amounts of administrative power, bureaucrats that can't be removed from office no matter who the chief executive or president is. The federal government's become too large. I don't know who thinks the federal government is not big enough. Who thinks that? And now the left, the boogeymans of the Democrats will tell you it's against black people. We're actually going to Google within this document, we're going to search and see what it has to say about black people. But this idea that the federal government is too big is another thing that I think most of people would agree with. The federal government's too big. Let's find promise number 3. What are they talking about in the Project 2025 promise number 3? Defend our nation's sovereignty, borders, and bounty against global threats. Does that sound evil to you, ladies and gentlemen? Does that like something nefarious in its intent? You know, the idea of allowing people to come to this country and do it the right way, cross the border and do it in a way that's legal, like the people used to come to Ellis Island and work to assimilate themselves into American culture. And this idea, right, that Americans don't want people of color coming here. Americans don't want African. We take in more African immigrants than any other country in the world, by the way. We are the most immigration-friendly country on the planet. And nobody, not Project 25, is not talking about stopping immigration. What they're talking about is defending the sovereignty of our border. Need I pull up the video of people in Texas just walking across our border, not doing it the right way? I tend to think, and I think most people, even common sense Democrats, will agree that we need to defend our nation's sovereignty. A nation that does not have a border, does that not have a shared culture and a shared language, is not a nation. Let's just read a little bit of this. The United States belongs to we the people. All government authority derives from the consent of the people, and our nation's success derives from the character of its people. The American people's right to rule ourselves is the obverse of our duty. We cannot outsource to others our obligation to ensure the conditions that allow our families, local communities, churches and synagogues and neighborhoods to thrive. The buck stops with each of us, so we must have the freedom to pursue the good for ourselves and those entrusted to our care. To most Americans, this is common sense, but in D.C. and other center of left power like the media and the academy, this statement of basic civics is branded hate speech. And it is. We have to be mindful on this platform what we say, so YouTube and Instagram and all these other platforms don't kick us off. And the idea of saying that the American people should be able to defend their border, have a border, control and have a say as to who comes in, and also make sure that people who are coming into this country illegally are not attacking our police officers, are not committing massive crimes. We can look and see who's doing what. So I tend to think that this is not the boogeyman that they want to make it out to be. Let's also take a look at if there's any other high-level stuff we can look at here. Secure our God-given individual right to enjoy the blessings blessings of liberty. Does that sound like hate speech to you? The Declaration of Independence famously asserted the belief of America's founders that all men are created equal and endowed with God-given rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's the pursuit of happiness, that is central to America's heroic experiment in self-government. When the founders spoke of the pursuit of happiness, what they meant might be understood today in essence as pursuit of blessedness. That is, an individual be free to live as his creator ordained to flourish. Our Constitution grants us each liberty to do what we want, but what we ought. The pursuit of the good life is found primarily in family, marriage, children, Thanksgiving dinners, and the like. Many find happiness through work. Think our dedicated teachers or healthcare professionals, entrepreneurs or plumbers throwing themselves into business, anyone who sees a job well done as a personal reward. Religious devotion and spirituality are the greatest sources of happiness around the world. Still, others find themselves happiest in their local voluntary community of friends, their neighbors, their civic or charitable work. The American Republic was founded on principles prioritizing and maximizing individuals' right to live their best life or to enjoy what the framers called the blessings of liberty. It's this radical equality, liberty for all, not just rights of the authority that the rich and powerful have hated about democracy in America since 1776. To me, this does not sound like hate speech, ladies and gentlemen. What this sounds like, and yes, there is a right-leaning Christian nationalist hinge to this. We'll just call it what it is. We call a spade around here. But that is the idea behind this. Now, let's do one more thing. Because this whole thing that Project 2025 is somehow against Black people. That's what the Democrats want to do, is they want to say Project 2025 is coming after Black people. Project 2025 is against Black people and brown people. And Project 2025 is hate speech. This is the beauty of it, folks. You can hit Control F. You can look at the fact that the word Black appears 35 times in the document, okay? The word Black appears 35 times. Let's go look at the first appearance. It's Josh Blackman. Let's go look at the second appearance. Today, the American family is in crisis. 40% of all children are born to unmarried mothers, including more than 70% of Black children. There is no government program that can replace the hole in a child's soul cut out by the absence of a father. Fatherlessness is one of the principal sources of American poverty, crime, mental illness, teen suicide, substance abuse, rejection of the church, and high school dropouts. So many of the problems government programs are designed to solve but can't are ultimately problems created by the crisis of marriage and the family. Hold on, wait a minute. Let's stop for a second, ladies and gentlemen, because not the Heritage Foundation, but Barack Obama said that a child without a father in the home is more likely to end up in the prison system or in the criminal justice system. A child without a father in the home is more likely to be a high school dropout and have problems with literacy. Not the Heritage Foundation, not the Republican Party, but Barack Obama said that. And this is a mention of Black people in Project 2024. So what the left has to do is create this boogeyman that somehow this Project 2025 proposal by the Heritage Foundation is anti-Black. But we can see right here in the Project 2025 mandate itself that it is calling out a problem in the Black community, which is fatherlessness. It is calling out a problem in the American culture of today that we have baby mama, baby daddy culture as the norm. You have people like Nick Cannon with 6 baby mamas and 12 children. You have NBA and NFL players with multiple baby mamas as if that's okay. I can show you right now the problem in not all Black communities, but there is an element of our community that celebrates a less than productive culture, folks. When you have a 7-year-old birthday party and the first thing the mama want to do is get up there and twerk, embarrassing that baby, that's a problem. Okay? When you have, and I can show you better than I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that we do have a problem. We definitely have a problem in our society, in our culture, when you have young African-American men who are the victims and the perpetrators of most of the murders in Chicago. And most of those young men do not have fathers in the home. A good majority of them don't. So we have to look at this Project 2025 for what it's worth and say the left is incensed because this is calling it out. So that's one incident of this Project 2025 mentioning Black people. Let's go to the next one. All right. Divisive symbols such as the rainbow flag or the Black Lives Matter flag have no place next to the stars and stripes at our embassies. Absolutely correct. And I stood with my friends during the last election cycle. I had to go to Carborough because there was a Black Lives Matter flag hanging from a public building where people had to go vote. And these are people who have said themselves they are trained Marxists and socialists. So that's another mention in Project 2025 of the word Black, and it happens to mention Black Lives Matter flag. Let's see if there's any other incidences where it mentions Black. Black Rock, it mentions. Blackie's warrants. Blackie's warrants again. Black letter implementation of the law. Black Rock again. Blackmail is mentioned. Here we go. From most of our history, the federal government played a minor role in education. Then over a 14-month period beginning in 1964, Congress planted the seeds for what would become the U.S. Department of Education, the ED, or the department. In July of that year, President LBJ signed into law the Civil Rights Act of 1964 after Congress reached a consensus that the mistreatment of Black Americans was no longer tolerable and merited a federal response. In the case of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965 and the Higher Education Act of 1965, Congress sought to improve educational outcomes for disadvantaged students by providing additional compensatory funding for low-income children and lower-income college students. So there is another mention of Black people in that LBJ signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964 after Congress reached a consensus that the mistreatment of Black Americans was no longer tolerable. Doesn't sound very boogeyman-ish to me. This is the 12th mention of the word Black, which says funding to institutions should be Black granted and narrowed to historically Black colleges and universities and tribally controlled colleges. This is Project 2025 advocating for funding for HBCUs, not against funding for HBCUs. Let's keep going. Title VI, student discipline cases. Before the DCL, a school would be in violation of federal law for treating Black and white students differently, which was true. So there's the 13th mention of Black and the 14th mention of Black and the 15th mention of Black as we're talking about discipline in the schools. Then it gets to talking about blackouts, black box and proprietary models, black box. Implement a pro-fatherhood messaging campaign. Now, this is where the left is losing its mind, folks. This is where they're losing their mind. With 41% of children born out of wedlock, born without a married father in the home, and nearly 69% among Black Americans, it mentions that again. Okay? So where is this anti-Black agenda that is supposed to be in here? Where is this anti-Black agenda? I can't find it. And we've looked at every appearance of the word Black in Project 2025. So where is the left? Why is the left, is the question, using another scare tactic of Project 2025 is evil? It's out to get Black people. No, they're mad because the Heritage Foundation is calling it as they see it. Fatherlessness is a major epidemic in our country today. So is Project 2025 the great boogeyman that the left wants it to be? No, it is not, ladies and gentlemen. Project 2025 is not the great boogeyman here to destroy Black America. It's not anti-America. It is a wish list for the Heritage Foundation to do what the left has done, which is to coordinated effort to amass power within the government structure. When you look at the fact that there are so many bureaucrats, that cannot be fired, that can't get out of government, this is a response to that. Ladies and gentlemen, you're checking out a replay of Top of the Morning here on the Urban Conservative. We're going to come back and talk about this HR 8081, which was an effort by Democrats in the U.S. House to remove President Trump's Secret Service protection. Y'all don't go nowhere. Top of the morning, it'll be right back here on the Urban Conservative.
And I'm running for U.S. House District 12 here in Charlotte as a Republican this November. We know that the Democrat machine controls Charlotte, but a common sense Republican like me can win if we can get our message out to the voters. If you're like me and fed up with deep state career politicians like Alma Adams and Joe Biden, help me send a message that their time is up. I've done something by running for Congress. Now I need you to do something. Visit aliforcongress.com. Make a contribution. Together, we can make America better. Thank you.
Front the opioid crisis, but it turns out that was just another broken campaign promise. Here's what really happened under Stein's leadership. Drug overdose deaths in North Carolina have more than doubled. In 2021, 4,041 people in North Carolina lost their lives to overdoses, the highest number of overdose deaths in a single year ever in North Carolina. And fentanyl overdose deaths have increased more than 650%. Stein can't be trusted to protect North Carolina's kids and families.
This is Abdul Ali. Ladies and gentlemen, you're rocking here with the Urban Conservative. It's top of the morning for Thursday, July the 18th, 2024. RNC in full swing. Got to give a big shout out to the North Carolina delegation that's in the building. We just took a look at Project 2025 and dispelled the myth that this is some great right-wing boogeyman sent to destroy Black people in America. The next thing we need to talk about this morning, ladies and gentlemen, is this group of special individuals right here, folks. These individuals right here, let me get my messages out of the way. This special group of individuals right here are the 9 U.S. Congresspeople that sponsored H.R. 81, a bill aimed at stripping Donald Trump of his Secret Service protection. We're talking about Benny Thompson, Troy Carter, Barbara Lee, Frederica Wilson, Yvette Clarke, Bonnie Coleman, Jasmine Crockett, Joyce Beatty, and Stephen Cohen. This can't be real, Abdul. What are you talking about? H.R. 8081. I've never even heard of H.R. 8081. That can't be a real thing that was brought to the floor of the United States House of Representatives. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. The 118th Congress, second session, H.R. 81, to terminate United States Secret Service protection for felons. I wonder who they are going after with H.R. 8081 here. Would there be any felons, air finger quote felons, we could all think of that has Secret Service protection? Could y'all possibly think of any so-called felons with Secret Service protection that these 9 people would not want to have Secret Service protection? Could y'all think of any? Because I can. Now let's look at this. Mr. Thompson of Mississippi for himself, Mr. Carter of Louisiana, Miss Lee of California, Miss Wilson of Florida, Miss Clark of New York, Mrs. Watson Coleman, Mrs. Crockett, Mrs. Beatty, and Mr. Cohen introduced the following bill, which was referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. A bill to terminate United States Secret Service protection for felons, be it enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled. This act may be cited as the Denying Infinite Security and Government Resources Allocated Towards Convicted and Extremely Dishonorable Former Protectees Act, or the Disgraced Former Protectees Act. Denying certain felons Secret Service protection. Section 3056A of Title 18 United States Code is amended by striking declined and inserting declined. The protection authorized in paragraphs 1 through 8 shall terminate for any person upon sentencing following conviction for a federal or state offense that is punishable for a term of imprisonment of at least 1 year. Ladies and gentlemen, this was radical leftists, radical left Democrats in the United States House of Representatives wanting to remove the Secret Service protection of Donald Trump after all of the far left inflammatory rhetoric, got to put him in a bullseye, we got to target him, all of this madness that they talked about. And here you have these congressmen wanting to remove his protection. Now, the interesting thing about this is he'll probably be the president come November, right? And he can handle all of that stuff with these cases. But we see what's going on here. We know what's happening. We're not blind to the fact that this group of people right here wanted to be able to go back to their constituents in their several states and say, we tried to get Donald Trump removed. Our government shouldn't be paying for the protection of a felon. This is absolute ridiculousness. Absolute ridiculousness. And at the end of the day, folks, it didn't get anywhere. It's never going to pass. But the idea that these folks would present something like this to remove the Secret Service protection of Donald Trump is absolutely disgusting, folks. Let's call it what it is. This is hyper-partisanship. This is absolutely dangerous. I'm glad it didn't go anywhere. Donald Trump, as we all know, case dismissed on the documents case down in Florida. We're about to see this case in Georgia go to crap. It's not going to happen until December. There's no sentencing going to happen. And I think that we all know what this is. This is lawfare. All of these cases are absolute examples of lawfare. That documents case should have never been brought. We know that the Attorney General Merrick Garland does not have blanket authority to just appoint special counsels. Why on God's green earth is a county DA taking the president to court is a federal job? This case in Georgia should have never been brought up. This RICO case, it should have never been brought up. And Fani Willis has enough problems to deal with on her own. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. One last group. Look at this special group of people right here who wanted to take Donald Trump's Secret Service protection away. We're going to take one last real quick commercial break here on Top of the Morning. We're going to come back, talk a little bit about the new RNC platform on the other side of this commercial break. You're rocking with the TUC Twins here on Top of the Morning. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Doesn't mean you have to vote Democrat. This year, in order to see benefits for our communities, we need to vote outside the box. Find out more by visiting us at tuconservative.com.
And I'm running for U.S. House District 12 here in Charlotte as a Republican this November. We know that the Democrat machine controls Charlotte, but a common sense Republican like me can win if we can get our message out to the voters. If you're like me and fed up with deep state career politicians like Alma Adams and Joe Biden, help me send a message that their time is up. I've done something by running for Congress. Now I need you to do something. Visit aliforcongress.com. Make a contribution. Together, we can make America better. Thank you. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Yours truly running for U.S. House District 12 here in the great state of North Carolina, the wonderful city of Charlotte. Alma Adams been in there a decade and a lot longer than that in government. Between her and Joe Biden, over 75 years in government. Over the last 10 years, over $1 million in her pocket of taxpayer money. We need to get career politicians like Alma Adams out of office. We need new ideas. We need fresh leadership. We need somebody that is going to meet people where they are, consider the thoughts, ambitions, and ideas of their constituency, and vote for the people of the 12th Congressional District. We need your help, ladies and gentlemen. Go to aliforcongress.com, ALIFOR Congress.com. We definitely could use your support. You do not have to live here in North Carolina or Charlotte to support the campaign. We really could use everybody's help. We're asking you to go drop $20, 24 cents. You can do that on Anadot. You can do that on WinRed. You can mail us a check. Again, aliforcongress.com. Last thing we're going to cover this morning, ladies and gentlemen, is the Republican Party has passed a new platform at the RNC convention. Some people love it. A lot of people love it. Some people are a little upset at the fact that it's a little bit more of a streamlined platform. I'm thankful that it's not 680 pages, because who's got time to read that much? Who has time these days to sit down and try to explain a 500-page platform to anybody? But let's take a look at this. I know some of my friends are upset at the stance on life in the platform, and I think it still says that we are a party that will defend life and families, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But let's just take a look at this real quick. To make clear our commitment, we offer the American people the 2024 GOP platform to make America great again. It is a forward-looking agenda that begins with the following 20 promises that we will accomplish very quickly in the White House and with Republican majorities in the House and Senate. Seal the border, stop the migrant invasion. No, duh. We need That is to me, a no-brainer, common sense thing we need to do. Carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. Now, I'm going to stop right there for a second because we have so many people in this country illegally, we don't even know where they are. So I'd love to see how that happens, but we do have illegals in this country committing crime. We have illegals assaulting our police officers. So we definitely need to get people who jumped the line, who skipped ahead of the line out of our country. We are not anti-immigration in our country. As a matter of fact, the United States takes in more immigrants from Africa than any other country in the world. We take in more immigrants than any other country in the world. We have by far the best and I would say the most loving people in the world. We want you to come here. We want you to be an American. We want you to bring your culture and your flavor, if you will, to our country. That spices up the soup. You know, the great America's the melting pot. And in that soup is what brings people to this country and what they bring that adds to the American fabric. Make America the dominant energy producer in the world. No duh. We need to be producing our own energy. We need to be energy independent. Stop outsourcing and turn the U.S. into a manufacturing superpower. Duh. Like, no duh. Large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips. Absolutely need that. Defend our Constitution, Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. Prevent World War III. Can we please not have World War III, people? I would seriously love it if my daughter, my sons, if my brother's sons and daughters and his grandkids cannot have to grow up at a time where we have to deal with World War III. Please end the weaponization of government against the American people. Amen. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. That's exactly what we need to do. Stop the migrant crime epidemic, demolish the foreign drug cartels, crush gang violence, and lock offenders. These are things that I think everybody should be in favor of, whether you're a Democrat, unaffiliated, or Republican. Strengthen and modernize our military, making it without question the strongest and most powerful military in the world. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have to address this. I'm going to stop at this point as somebody who served in the United States Army as artilleryman, as somebody who knows firsthand that the job of the military is to protect and defend our country, is to be strong, and where necessary, do what must be done. Our military should not be a place where we're taking time out, taking people off the battlefield to go get their little Yankees, their twigs and berries cut off. We shouldn't have people in the military, I'm sorry. If you care about transgender individuals, the front line ain't the place for them. If you care about transgender individuals, the military's not the place for them. I'm sorry. You may disagree with me on that, but I don't think the military's the place for that. Our military should not be focused on wokeism and using proper pronouns. Our military should be focused on being mission ready, being mission capable, and being ready to go do what needs to be done when the president and the nation and the Congress calls for it. So I'm all for taking the wokeism out of the United States military. Next thing, keep the dollar as the world's reserve currency. Do we need to even talk about what's going to happen to our economy if that should change? I don't think we need to do that. Cancel the fight for and protect Social Security. Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold up. That's something that the Democrats talk about all the time. Republicans want to take your Social Security. Republicans want to stop Social Security. Republicans want to take away your health care and your Medicare. Right there in the platform. Fight for and protect Social Security and Medicare with no cuts, including no changes to the retirement age. Is this thing on? Can y'all, where does the left get off saying that Republicans want to take Social Security? It is in black and white, a promise in the platform. So for all of my Republican friends who are out there on the ground talking to people, for all the Trump Force 47 captains that are going to be out talking to people, go to Article 14 of the Republican National Committee's new platform, of the GOP's new platform, and show them in writing where it says we want to fight for and protect Social Security and Medicare with no cuts, ladies and gentlemen. No cuts. Number 15, cancel the electric vehicle mandate, cut costly, burdensome regulations, cut federal funding for any school pushing CRT, racial gender ideology, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. Because the bottom line is we need to be teaching our babies how to read, write, and do arithmetic, not talking to them about how they feel and if they feel like they were born in the right body. Like, come on, man, that has no business in our schools. Keep men out of women's sports, deport pro-Hamas radicals, and make our college campuses safe and patriotic again. Secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. And we will have in North Carolina on our ballot an initiative, a constitutional amendment that says only United States citizens shall be voting in our elections, which you would think is a no-brainer, right? Which you would think is an absolute no-brainer, but there are in our country right now places where non-citizens can vote. I think that's problematic. Now, the last thing we want to talk about this in this platform is life, okay? There are some folks that have said the platform does not go far enough in our defense of life, okay? I think we have to take into consideration where we are as a society, where we are as a culture, and where we are as a country. I'm going to just say it. And let me do this. Let me turn this music off when I say this. The idea that we will ever be to the point where abortion does not exist is not reality, okay? We are in a time, in a country, in a place where you have something called ectopic pregnancies, where you have people who are unfortunately sexually assaulted, where you have people who are the victims of incest. And there are situations where the life of the mother is at risk because of that pregnancy. So this idea that everybody, in the Republican Party is for a blanket all across the board, no excuses ban on abortion is ridiculous. And I think that this party, this new platform lays it out rather concisely. We proudly stand for families and life. How much more wordy does it need to be than that? We proudly stand for families and life. How much more do we need to say than that? We stand for families and life. We believe that the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States guarantees that no person can be denied life or liberty without due process, and that the states are therefore free to pass laws protecting those rights. After 51 years, because of us, that power has been given to the states and to a vote of the people. We will oppose late-term abortion while supporting mothers and policies that advance prenatal care, access to birth control, and IVF. Do we need to go any further than that? Do we really need to go any further than that? It's not. Listen, folks, I understand. I am a pro-life person myself. I do not believe that abortion should be used as a birth control measure. However, I'm also the father of a 21-year-old daughter who, if had an ectopic pregnancy, or was unfortunately sexually assaulted, or if became pregnant, her life was on the line and needed access to an abortion procedure, she should have access to that. If that means I'm not a real Republican, if that means I'm a rhino, so be it. But the reality of it is a total ban on abortion is not reality. It's not real. It's not something that's tenable. And I think this position on the platform does exactly what it's supposed to do and points out the fact that if you want stricter abortion laws, lobby for it in your state. Go lobby your legislature to make the laws be what they are. We passed an abortion measure in North Carolina, which I fully support. I think it's common sense. We're saving thousands of babies here, and I think that's the right approach. It should be a states' right issue. And if you don't like the approach that your state is taking, you can always move. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is a high-level overview, a high-level look at the new RNC platform. We've taken a look at Project 2025. It's not the boogeyman that everybody wants it to be. It's not people. That's That's not what it's about, ladies and gentlemen. So there you have it. Project 2025, the new RNC platform. Hope y'all have a positive and productive rest of your day, ladies and gentlemen. For my twin brother, Raheem Architect Soto, you've been checking out this late edition of Top of the Morning here on the Urban Conservative. We'll holler at y'all tomorrow. Peace and love.
Country illegally cast a ballot, it takes the power of your vote away. Visit onlycitizens.vote to find out how you can contact your legislature and get them to pass a citizens-only voting amendment. Again, visit onlycitizens.vote and defend your right to vote.
And I'm running for U.S. House District 12 here in Charlotte as a Republican this November. We know that the Democrat machine controls Charlotte, but a common sense Republican like me can win if we can get our message out to the voters. If you're like me and fed up with deep state career politicians like Alma Adams and Joe Biden, help me send a message that their time is up. I've done something by running for Congress. Now I need you to do something. Visit aliforcongress.com, make a contribution to